Hello and welcome to Indianomics. The resolution of bad loans or non-performing assets in the banking sector reached a decisive stage when the Reserve Bank last month told banks to take 12 borrowers, defaulting borrowers, such as Bhushan Steel, SR Steel, Lanco, etc., to the bankruptcy court. All the remaining NPAs of over 5,000 crore as of March 2016 are getting 6 more months to seek a resolution, failing which they also will have to be taken to the bankruptcy court. So while courts may debate if these 12 were unfairly singled out, there is no doubt that anyways in a couple of quarters, a bunch of troubled borrowers are going to land in the bankruptcy court. Now the process under the bankruptcy court requires the court to suspend the board of the borrowing company and appoint an insolvency professional who will take charge of the company for about 6 months, during which time the creditors have to come up with a new plan for the company. While about 700 odd individuals and about 7 corporate entities, including big names like Deloitte and KPMG, have registered themselves as insolvency professionals, the question that India Inc. and experts are worrying about is, can these companies run any of these very complex defaulting companies? Companies as large and complex as Bhushan Steel and Power, SR Steel, which has links to Power, Lanco, etc. Can these be run at all by outside consultants? And what is the equation between the promoter, the management, the board, and the insolvency professional? Those are the questions we are asking. And to answer this, I have with me Behram Vakil, founder partner, AZB and Partners, and one of the authors of the Bankruptcy Code itself, Nikhil Shah, managing director, Alvarez and Marsal, Sanjay Doshi, partner KPMG, and Rasi Shah, chairman and CEO, Edelweiss Group. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. Behram, let me start with you. Exactly what is the responsibility of the insolvency professional or corporate entity? Literally every activity is theirs, or do they just behave like the board and the management and the company run itself?
No, so thanks, Lata. The way I like to put it is that they are the de facto CEO because it's an individual, and the board becomes the COC. So just like a CEO would be running the day-to-day operations, for that 180 to 270 days, they would be in charge of the operations. Now, you're not expected to be a superwoman or superman. You have your team, you have management, you hire whichever consultants and experts you need. But yes, you are in charge and management reports to you.
Okay. It's interesting the way you say superwoman or superman. I don't know how many women have registered as insolvency professionals. But Nikhil, since yours is one company which has run such defaulting or troubled companies elsewhere in the world, what exactly is the responsibility? A CEO is liable for everything that happens in the company. So, do you all normally remove the entire top management? How does it work?
Sure. I'd like to just step back for a second and actually add to what Behram was saying, which is that the insolvency professional has 2 primary objectives. So the first objective is actually to try and drive a resolution plan where 75% of the financial creditors by value have to agree. So it's actually putting together a viable business plan for the entity, looking at the capital structure, looking at the industry, the business and its competitive advantages, and putting all of that together in a package that actually would be acceptable and voted on by the financial creditors. So that's the first one. The second thing is actually...
But that is the second stage, isn't it? In the interregnum...
Well, the time frame is short, right? There's 6 to 9 months to actually get through this. So actually, there is some superhuman capabilities that are required in order to perform that role, as well as actually managing the affairs and operations of the company. And yes, you're right. A&M, Alvarez and Marsal, is actually the global leader in restructuring and turnaround cases, and we've been doing this for 35 years around the world. Handling cases like Lehman Brothers, Washington Mutual, pretty much every large bankruptcy in the last 20 years. So in India as well, we've been providing this service of interim management services to distressed companies for the last 9-10 years. So interim CEO, CFO, chief restructuring officer in distressed cases. And there is a lot of responsibility that comes with actually doing this. You have to have an understanding on the sector. You have to understand the business and what it's trying to do. And you have to be able to manage cash flow and be compliant with all of the sort of laws and regulations that exist in India during that time frame. The main objective in that is to make sure that there's no deterioration in value in the underlying asset during the period of the resolution process.
Okay, then there could be a deterioration of value because nobody bought your power. The DISCOMs were not buying, or there was a disruption in supply because of probably a strike. Probably employees don't like the new CEO or the interim CEO. What happens then?
So that's why you require people who have experience in actually going into these situations to be able to clearly communicate with all of the stakeholders, including the employees and suppliers and customers, to actually let them know that there is a clear plan that is actually the company is operating under, and which the insolvency professional is actually running on behalf of the creditors committee, and that they need to be patient for a period of 180 or 270.
That is communication. But legally, what is your liability? Say, for instance, the Provident, an employee is retiring and the Provident Fund money is not there, or some tax liability has not yet been paid. What is the personal liability of the corporate entity or the person who is the CEO?
So theoretically, at this moment in time, he would be liable actually for those responsibility for those issues, and they need to be compliant as per what the code states.
Sanjay, the even more crucial issue is, in the interregnum, are you sure that the insolvency professional will be able to take on the might of the promoters? I mean, it's not small, SR and Ravi Ruya, or for that matter, the Bhushan Singhal brothers, or, any of them. These are large companies. These are big promoters. How will this one CEO, one chartered accountant, be able to even take on their might?
So you're right. In terms of the way the process is, that the board gets temporarily suspended, but at the same time the management is there. What the code has done is they have taken away the powers of the board and the promoters. But we are not saying that anyone who is going to get into any of the situations is going to go in without. So even today the process is on.
No, but the promoters are out, right? Promoters and board cannot enter the premises?
So let's take a step back. What's really going to happen and what's the objective? And just to add what Nikhil said, I think it's very critical in terms of communication. Because what is the general sense? See, one is we professionals who know what's really happening, right? But in terms of the normal public, what do they understand? Insolvency, the first thing which goes, it's liquidation. It is not. You are getting in as an administrator to really work out a resolution for 6 months. And in those 6 months, the powers have been taken away from the promoter and the board. So you are effectively trying to be independent in terms of whatever resolution comes in. The management is still there. Company operations will still run in. And that messaging going to the employees, to the general public, helps. That's the first part.
Yes, to suppliers. Otherwise, they may, stop supplying or stop payments for supplies that you have made.
So if they believe that the company is going to go down and close down, what's going to happen? Immediate supplies.
It will be an implosion. Stop. I mean, even a company that is about to work will not work. Madam, exactly, how do you ring fence? Do you say physically promoters and board can't enter? What are the physical limits to the current management, and what are the responsibilities of the new management?
No, I'm very glad you asked. In fact, I was going to request to come in. So two misnomers which I would like to clarify. One is that the main goal is restructuring and making the company healthier and survive. So the idea is not liquidation. Liquidation is a worst case scenario.
Absolutely.
So, often courts and or promoters or companies do not understand this, because maybe the title of the code, as you were saying, is also insolvency. So maybe we should have thought of a more positive title. So that's the first misnomer. And the second one is, in the vast majority of cases, the promoters and management will remain. So the IP will work with them.
Okay.
I mean, that's why I said it's teamwork. In any company, it's not just the CEO. He's working with his management and his team that make the company a success. So it isn't the case where, they won't be allowed into the door or that they will not work with them. But they are the experts, so really they'll give you a better flavor of the day-to-day.
Okay.
Liability, they have a lot of authority. So is there liability? Pakka, there is liability. But one point for past ills do not come on you. But in those 6 to 9 months, even though we tried to get some exemptions, company law, SEBI, etc., we have not been able to convince them so far. The only one is that takeover code exemption. But the others we don't have. So you will have to comply with all those conditions, and you better get chartered accountants, lawyers, etc. to help you to comply.
Okay. We'll go into a break, but there are a lot of more questions and worries that we have to get clarified on how exactly the insolvency professional will work in the supposed interregnum period. We are back in a minute.